Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Emma, and I'm a practicum student at the CAS Lab this school year. And doing my practicum, I've had the opportunity for myself to learn about complex adaptive systems. And I was also able to create an OWL-based site of modules intended for new lab members and students to use as an introduction to complex systems with my practicum peers. And today I hope I can convince you to incorporate CAS thinking into the courses you teach. So here's just a quick overview of what I'll be discussing. We'll start with why teaching students about CAS is so important and finish off with some practical points on how to approach teaching complex adaptive systems. So why teach undergraduates about complex adaptive systems? And to begin, I'll start with an anecdote about my undergraduate experience. When I came to Western, starting in health sciences, it was interdisciplinary right off the bat. My first required courses were biology, personal determinants of health, and social determinants of health. And as I went through the program, I was taking electives in a variety of medical and social science subjects, and my health science courses continue to discuss health as an intersectional issue. And in 4 years, an undergraduate like myself will learn a lot of information between all their courses with no real discussion on how to connect these ideas. As I have learned what it means to use a complex systems lens this year, I've really been equipped to apply what I've learned to the rest of my studies. And I find myself looking for the big picture and find the overlap between courses. And from there, I'm able to visualize elements of a single issue that will influence other elements, or finding underlying problems with a single issue. And by having the knowledge of a complex systems framework, it's really a legitimate way to define or describe those relationships. So in most cases, the goal of teaching CAS in the undergraduate classroom should really be to show students how to make those connections and distinguish relationships between topics that overlap in between their courses. Because complex theory as one thing can be really tricky, but the main idea should really be able to show how complex problems can be interdisciplinary, and to solve these problems, you need to consider a wide range of solutions, and directly showing how complex systems thinking can be applied to their area of study can be really beneficial. So students don't have to find ways to make their own connections. CAS thinking gives them a formal way of thinking through complex problems, because in today's world, students are going to enter the workforce and work with groups of people that are multidisciplinary. And so students that understand what complex adaptive systems are will really set them up for success. So when my peers and I started developing the OWL modules, our first course of action was to find a way to present the information so that it was interesting and digestible to the students. So we also had the opportunity to pilot test the modules with our community engaged learning groups and got a lot of great feedback. And so here would be a few of my recommendations. The first is that complicated terminology should be presented clearly and in a way students can really comprehend. Complex theory can seem really abstract if there's no way to demonstrate through the application of these terms using an example to guide through learning complex adaptive systems thinking. So using meaningful examples is really important. There are lots of videos and virtual simulations that students can watch to stay engaged with content and see in real time how complex systems work and change. As well, videos and simulations are a great tool to change how students different sources of media. And we included quizzes at the end of each module to allow students to test their knowledge and gauge their understanding. When doing my own self-directed learning at the start of my practicum, I personally found it difficult to see if I was grasping the concepts of CAS myself. So we found the quizzes to be really helpful with that. So here's just some screenshots of the OWL site. Using checklists was a really helpful way to stay on track. And we also received a lot of feedback to include learning objectives for each module to direct focus onto the main ideas of each section. So to the left, you can see module 1, and on the right, you can see the 5 modules and how they were set up, first with introducing systems and complexity, and then moving to videos and simulations that had applications. And here's a screenshot of module 4. We offered videos to address wide interests since students can join the lab from any field, and obviously not just health science. So we included a video on Earth systems, economics, and simulations on evolution, social networks, and COVID. But the CAF's website has links to courses or course subjects that range in topic areas. So if you're looking for a place to start when introducing complexity theory, the resources section on the CAS Lab website is really helpful. And here are just two of the simulations that we included in the OWL site, one about social networks and one about COVID. And my practicum peers will be looking at these applications in detail a little bit later. And the final point I wish to make is the importance of educators in complex adaptive systems. To introduce students to complex systems, we must first convince course instructors to want to do so and ensure they know how CAS can be applied to their course topics, which is what I'm doing today with you. So I encourage all of you here today to consider adding a complexity lens to your course and urge some of your colleagues to maybe do the same. And with that, I thank you for your time.